There are a lot of conspiracies out there, and while some are serious and quite possibly important, there are others that aren't so serious. These ones are a bit more fun, a bit more wild, and that's what we're going to be focusing on today. We're going to be focusing on ones that are just out there. They're kind of crazy. Some of them you might have heard before, some of them you probably haven't heard before, but as I continue, they're just going to get crazier and crazier. So be sure to watch all the way till the end. It's just important to know that this is just for fun, it's nothing serious. And with that all being said, thank you for watching. If you enjoy, like and subscribe, and let's get into it. Alright, here's my tier list. I'm ranking them on believability. At the top, we got an S tier, like a aliens level, probably real. Then you have, down here, you have a B tier for Bigfoot. It could go both ways. I could be convinced one way or the other. Then at the bottom, you have F for flat earth, all right, which is going to be the no way, I'm never believing this in a million years. And then we have some buffer zones in between, so it's going to go S, A, B, C, F, and those are, it doesn't completely fall in, it's a buffer zone. You understand what it means. Now that the ranking makes sense, let's get into the first one. Okay, we're starting with the first one. Paul is dead. This one's very popular, but basically it's that Paul McCartney actually died in 1966, and he was replaced with a lookalike named Billy Shears after he died in a car accident. Billy Shears would be equally as talented as Paul McCartney and a near identical lookalike. That's the thing that kind of makes this one harder to believe, is that why would they replace Paul McCartney with Billy Shears and like make him keep the same name? If anything, some people argue that Billy Shears might be more talented than the original Paul McCartney, because after 1966 the Beatles kind of got better, and that's when their weird experimental stuff started. I love the Beatles. I don't personally believe this one because it just doesn't make sense. It would probably be better for band exposure to say one of their members died, and the Beatles are like infinitely famous, you know? And not only that, but they find an exact lookalike who is insanely talented. But there are reasons why people believe this. Like, for example, some of the album covers point to it, like Abbey Road shows what some people believe to be like a funeral ceremony, and Paul McCartney's the only one stepping out of sync. And the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club, the bass drum spells he is dead or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it says. As well as if you play some songs backwards, this is real creepy sounds that you hear. And it could be argued that all of these are accidentally slipped in, like subconsciously, for their guilt of replacing Paul McCartney. But at the end of the day, this one's really hard to believe because it just, where's the motivation, you know? And what are the odds that this man Billy Shears would be so similar to Paul McCartney? So I'm gonna throw that one in F. Now we're stepping a little bit further into this conspiracy theory rabbit hole with the internet is dead theory. It basically goes like this. Pretty much all of the internet is now just filled with bots. All the interactions you have are actually with bots typically, especially in places where information is disseminated, like Twitter, social medias, YouTube even, all of those places is all filled with bots. Reddit as well. And so the theory is that all these bots fill the internet so that the government and governing bodies can use this as a way to make it look like all of the people believe one thing. It's a way for the people in power to disseminate information at what they want, basically, and to make it seem like the mass public agree with what they want them to agree. Not only that, but for other people who disagree, it makes them seem like an outlier, and that the world is completely changed and their values aren't important anymore, and it's other people's values now. It just causes chaos. It causes, what is a good word for that? What word did I use? It causes conflict. All of this is used to keep the people in power, and the ideals that matter to them most at the top of the totem pole of beliefs. There's a lot of things that back this up too, mostly like Reddit being just a complete psyop, and government bases where every employee has to have like 40 phones apiece just to make sure that they are have all of these accounts that they like filter through. Entire branches of the government being used just for controlling information online. This one is like, duh, this is happening. The worst part about it all is if you're on either side of the spectrum, if you're the one who's being told that your values aren't important, or you're part of the I do believe in these new values, or whatever. I say values, but it's really just all political stuff. You're being manipulated both ways, and there's nearly nothing you can do about it. This is very calculated, it seems like, and I definitely believe this one. This one goes up the top. All right, now we get to the ones that's like, this is crazy. This one is the worms in our brain and parasites. All right, this specifically is the Vril lizards theory. The Vril lizard parasites are parasites that are put into people's brains through their eyes, where then it eventually will turn these people into drones. It will make them like vessels for the parasites. These Vril lizards are like gross people. They don't care about hygiene. They do disgusting things. They're very deviant, and people in power have all been infected by this Vril parasite. Now, the crazy part about this theory is not the droning process like that, even though that sounds crazy in itself, but the Vril itself. It's a science fiction based colony of lizards that live underground, and they have been using these parasites and drones to control the people above. This parasite thing is terrifying, and when you look into parasites, you see some crazy things, like how like just 85% of people that wear contacts will get a parasitic infection in their eyes at some point in time, which, I mean, that's not the same as parasites that are controlling your brain, but that's just gross, period, man. It freaks me out. I don't like that kind of stuff. As well as the presidential candidate RFK Jr. just got found with a worm in his brain that was eating it and died in there. Man had a worm eating his brain. Things like that are what make this theory so scary, is because parasites are such a scary thing to begin with. I mean, hell, y'all guys seen Monsters Inside Me? That shit would give me nightmares as a kid. I'm a big time hypochondriac. That stuff is like, the parasitic droning stuff is terrifying. It's scary. The theory loses me at the lizards underground, though. That's your classic conspiracy theory thing, and it's just kind of overplayed at this point. I would probably put it higher if it was just parasites droning things, and like maybe the governmental bodies were in control of these parasites rather than the lizards. But for that, it's going to go C. Above F, but C. The lizards things really takes it out for me. All right, now we got one that probably deserves an entire video on its own, but it is the portal to hell. All right, we're gonna be talking about some occultists again. The bastard Aleister Crowley's back. This one's crazy, and it is a huge rabbit hole, and I'm barely scratching the surface here, but that's not the point of this video. But the idea goes as this. There was a rocket scientist named Jack Parson, who, along with L. Ron Hubbard and Aleister Crowley, in the mountains of California, actually opened a portal to hell. Some people think that they were talking to the Babylonian goddess. I believe it's Aphrodite. Some people think it's Satan themselves, and some people think that it is a demon known as Lam that Aleister Crowley always talked about, drew pictures of. Here's a picture. Looks like your classic like alien kind of. But if you didn't know who Jack Parsons is he was a famous rocket scientist of the time. And if you don't know who L. Ron Hubbard is, that is the guy who founded Scientology. And they were all occultists together. Aleister Crowley is quite the like person of interest. I talked about him some in the Pizzagate video, but this guy is just wild, believes some wild things, in my opinion. They believe that with the power of rocket science and sex magic, as well as just magic in general, they could open a portal to hell to talk to these like demons. This one's crazy. This is the type of shit I like in a conspiracy theory. It's fun, it's crazy, and it's semi-believable a little bit as a person who believes in higher powers, you know, like Satan and God. These are big names in occultist, and at the end of the day, I'm putting it right at B. Something was going on in those Californian mountains, to say the least. Last but not least, probably the craziest of them all, we have the idea of Loosh. All right, Loosh is basically an energy. I'll use an analogy. Think Monsters Inc. When they make the kids scream and it gives them energy, that's basically Loosh. Fear, anger, panic, all strong emotions are what Loosh is, all right? And the idea is that people in power are purposely creating environments that cause this to feed extra-dimensional eldritch beasts that feed off of this energy. And they have to keep this energy flow coming, or else these beasts will like rain hell, basically. And I think that this one is it's one of those conspiracies where it touches on something that people already have a problem with. They're like, why are times so hard? It's made this way on purpose. Like, it feels like it's made this way on purpose. And that's something that hits people home a lot. And sometimes you have to like analyze and think that maybe there's even bigger powers at play than what we know about. This one's crazy, this one's fun, but at the end of the day, I don't personally believe it. I think that there is pretty clear and obvious reasons why conflict is bred amongst the people of this country and all countries across the world. It's because when we're fighting amongst each other, we're not fighting anything else, you know? And I think that this one kind of defeats that purpose a little bit of we don't need to be fighting each other. It's the same thing as the dead internet theory. It's these people in power who could possibly be creating conflict to stay in power. It's probably not these eldritch monsters who eat the energy of screaming children, but something had to inspire Monsters Inc. Just saying. At the end of the day, I put this one at F. And that's going to be it for this tier list. If y'all enjoyed this, I will definitely do another one. I loved looking into these. These were fun. Much different than some of the other conspiracies I've done. But I like both. I like the importance of other conspiracies, and I like fun ones that are just batshit crazy. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe, and stay tuned.